from the APMCR. Raj Thackeray is not backing down, and supporters of Raj Thackeray have used the loudspeaker to send a message. They're trying to stop us from reporting. Today has picked up Arnab Goswami from his house, dragged him out, assaulted him physically. This is the Abhignya Tower in Parel, Mumbai, where the fire was reported, and their entire effort has been to somehow...
From the Delhi studios of Republic TV, it's time for The Debate.
The Debate at 10, powered by Reva University.
Well, hello and welcome. I am Aishwarya Kapoor and you're watching The Debate at 10. The visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, yes, I'm talking about the Indian Prime Minister's visit to Japan, is of great importance. Viewers, we need to understand, and it's not only in regard to the Quad Summit, but the economic partnership among the Indo-Pacific region countries, and that's important. It's not only about that picture where you see the Prime Minister Modi leading and the world leaders behind him. Yes, it's very significant, but it's far more than that. That picture is only an indication of which way the tide is going. Prime Minister made it clear, and let's be very clear about it, crystal clear, by joining the Indo-Pacific Nations Group, which was led by the US, that India's interest is paramount as far as at least the Indo-Pacific region is concerned, and that New Delhi's participation at the highest level displayed Prime Minister Modi's government's commitment to join forces, to take on Beijing, yes, China's growing assertiveness. Viewers, we need to understand what China has been doing in the region and beyond. Even while Quad is happening, I'll have my full panel within the next minute. The Chinese aircraft, the so-called Chinese aircrafts, were hovering around. Why? It's only because China just wants to send a signal. Because Joe Biden said that if China attacks Taiwan, we will militarily go in. So China wanted to say, don't take us lightly. And India and Prime Minister Modi's stand in this is very important, because for India, for Prime Minister, for our Prime Minister, viewers, our Prime Minister, interest of India is paramount. And Prime Minister Modi seems to be strengthening the economic partnership and cooperation among the Indo-Pacific countries to enhance resilience, sustainability, inclusiveness and economic growth. Because you need to take on China. And do you remember, viewers, I'm asking you, Prime Minister Modi mentioning the oldest port of Lothal. Lothal in Gujarat gives an indication that what India wants, which by the way was the historical route of trade. And today, when Prime Minister Modi and the US President Biden, under the Quad's umbrella, are trying to describe the formula of keeping the Indian Ocean and beyond tension-free and a peace zone, viewers. And a peace zone. It's very important. And the role of India is equally significant. Let's debate, but let's listen in to this special package our team has made.
The significance of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's two-day visit to Japan lies in the fact that India finds itself at the center of global diplomacy high table. We saw how India's concerns got reflected and India's contributions got acknowledged. On the COVID management front, President Joe Biden complimented India and said that India's COVID management was better than that of China, two equally sized nations. In fact, Prime Ministers Kishida and Albanese complimented India for sharing vaccines around the world, particularly in the Indo-Pacific region, where we have distributed over 250 million doses.
There was a general appreciation in the Quad's deliberation, including also in a couple of bilateral meetings, of the manner in which India has been able to shape a very comprehensive response to the COVID-19 pandemic in India, which includes all elements of the comprehensively all elements of COVID response.
I'm looking forward to continuing our conversation today. Mr. Prime Minister, there's so much that our countries can and will do together, and I'm committed to making U.S.-India partnership among the closest we have on earth.
Amongst the four leaders, including India, that we were able to reaffirm the importance of the various principles such as the rule of law, sovereignty and territorial integrity.
Our relationship with India is a very important one, and it was a great honour to meet with Prime Minister Modi.
The Quad members took a firm stand against terror emanating from Pakistan.
Quad leaders also issued strong condemnation of all forms of terrorism and a call for expeditiously bringing to justice the perpetrators of the Mumbai and Pathankot terror attacks.
On the economic diplomacy front, Prime Minister did not waste a moment. He engaged with as many as 30 top corporate honchos of Japan. In the last 2 days of his Japan trip, Prime Minister has raised the stature of Indian diplomacy and brought it center stage.
The success at Quad comes at a time when some meet those known to have an anti-India, anti-Semitic position. And they are being called out for it.
But if you turn a page back and look at the preamble, it does mention that India is a nation. Bharat itself is one of the oldest surviving civilizations of the world. And the term finds its origin in the Vedas. So we have a really old civilization.
It is clear India's diplomatic prowess under PM Modi is soaring, and this is making some within extremely sour. Let's debate.
Well, let's debate, because on one hand, while you have the Prime Minister leading the world leader delegation at the Quad, on the other hand, you have Rahul Gandhi meeting anti-India forces. Well, that's a separate debate, but the point is that till 1980, Sardar R.P. Singh, national spokesperson of the BJP, Dr. Sriram Cholia, professor and dean, Tushar Gupta, senior journalist, Lokesh Jindal, leader of the Congress party, Pankaj Sharma, another senior journalist, Vivek Srivastava, political analyst, and Professor Manojit Mandal. Till 1980, sir, India's stand was very clear that let's have the Asia, let's have this region, the Indo-Pacific region, as an international peace zone. But then we've seen several twists and turns in how the disintegration of the USSR and then how China deliberately increased its control and stance in the region, which has disturbed the whole dynamics. But Prime Minister Modi is trying. But will China allow? And is that easy? That's the point. I'm coming to you, Sriram Cholia, first. Sriram Cholia, Prime Minister Modi is giving it all because he wants peace. But what China is doing is disturbing the whole situation. And mind it,
is the wrong move by the Prime Minister.
While Xi Jinping sent their jet, Sriram,
it is the wrong move.
The Ukraine-Russia tussle is still on. Yeah, Sriram Cholia. Vivek, relax. Sriram.
Well, Aishwarya, we can only attain peace through strength and through counterbalancing. I think that's the big message that the Prime Minister's visit to Japan has proved.
Vivek, please learn.
Peace through strength and counterbalancing. One, we have strength in numbers, strength in a coalition.
Yeah.
We need to form like-minded countries, groups, to come together and form a counterbalancing coalition. What we're talking about is stability in the Indo-Pacific, free and open Indo-Pacific. We want, the Quad leaders have said, we don't want maritime gangsterism. We don't want militias trying to militarize all the disputed areas in this region. What they are referring to is the Chinese behavior you just mentioned for the viewers. So I think we are now in a position to be able to bring together like-minded countries, form coalitions.
Vivek Srivastava, I'll come to you. Hold on,
multilateral pushback.
Vivek ji, I'll come to you. Hold on. Let him speak. Let Sriram Cholia speak.
Hegemonic,
I'll come to you on your time, Vivek
monster.
ji. Calm down, please. I'm requesting
from
you.
China.
Please. Yeah, peacefully.
See, Chinese hegemony is posing a tremendous threat not only to India but to several smaller countries in the region, Aishwarya. And we are now all coming on one platform. We have made up our mind that we need to do a determined pushback. And that is now happening, and in so concrete ways. You know, this is not rhetoric. Look at the new monitoring mechanism where they have announced for maritime surveillance. We're going to check Chinese ship activity. We're going to check their submarines. We're going to check their ability to use debt trap diplomacy to drown countries like Sri Lanka. We're going to prevent them from taking over Taiwan.
It sounds good.
All these
but
are big
is it,
goals, and we are
Sriram Cholia, it sounds good. I know.
Yeah,
Sriram Cholia, it sounds really good. But is it that easy said,
loud talk,
then done? Sardar R.P. Singh, no, Vivek Srivastava.
It requires coordination.
These days, I think,
lot of
direct
coordination will be required,
from BG.
Aishwarya.
Like they are not ready. Like they are not ready to listen to the world. You are not ready to listen to your co-panelist.
It makes me laugh.
Vivek Srivastava, you need to let the other panelists speak.
Sardar R.P. Singh, I'm making me laugh, sir.
Vivek Srivastava, I'll come to you, but please speak when spoken. Sardar R.P. Singh, thank you, sir. Thank you. Sardar R.P. Singh.
Okay.
While Prime Minister Modi is leading the delegation at the Quad, leading that group of leaders and trying to create a peaceful environment, our own Rahul Gandhi goes there and tries to meet the anti-India forces. That's a separate thing. But my issue is the government of India is trying to send a clear message that India wants peace, and let there be no doubt about it.
Well, the message is loud and clear that India is building up for peace in the region, and then has asked other nations to be part of
Lokesh, I'll come to you.
And is a strategic, is part of the strategic understanding between the Quad nations and others also, which are part of the Indo-Pacific region, nations which are part of that. That yes, we are there, put together on economic issues, on strategic issues, and let's work together on these issues and subjects. I must mention about Rahul Gandhi because it's not first time he's doing. He has done it earlier also. Remember, some time back he went to states and said that help us to dislodge Prime Minister Modi. On some other occasion, he said he compared the Indian democracy with the democracy, the way the elections were held in Iraq or Libya. Or he compared with Saddam Hussein and other people. So that's the problem with Rahul Gandhi. He always go abroad and then try to paint a different picture for the country, and then try to paint as if there is a lot of problem in the country. He picks up people who support Kashmir issue, who supports for independent Kashmir, who supports independent Kashmir.
Lokesh Jindal seems to be amused. 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 Why
goes and support people who
what's your thought process? Sardar Sahab, I'll just come to you. Sardar Sahab, I'll come to you in 30 seconds. I'll come back to you, Sardar Sahab. Yeah, Lokesh. Why? No, what is amusing in what Sardar R.P. Singh is saying? Can you please tell us? Can you please enlighten us?
After the Galwan Valley debacle, why is it that in 2021 we were the largest importers of Chinese goods? India was mocked globally during farm laws, Anti-Citizenship Amendment Act, abrogation of Article 370. And let me tell you, abrogation of Article 370 gave ammunition to China to block India's UNSC seat. And Russia and China, they have got closer. Please do not interrupt, sir. Please do not interrupt. I did not interrupt.
Let him speak. Let him complete. Let him complete.
India walked off. Please understand. Please listen to me.
Can I have Tushar Gupta on the other side? Can I have Tushar Gupta on the other side?
And moreover, when we are talking about WHO claimed that 47 lakh people died, whereas our Prime Minister was lying. Wasn't it a shame? 60% of our defense machinery is still of Russian origin, and he's talking about
India has rebutted. No, I need to stop you, Lokesh.
India's credit rating agencies died.
You are speaking on every issue, Lokesh Jindal. On every issue, Tushar Gupta, he will speak, but he will not speak about his leaders. his party leaders meeting with anti-India forces, with leaders to stand. But I am not talking about it. I am saying we all should be talking about that India is at the end of the day taking the world together, leading the world with the Australians and the American president right behind him, and trying to send a message that India will make sure that first India's interest and then the region's interest is paramount.
India become another Germany.
Tushar Gupta.
Absolutely.
Relax, Jindal Saab. I think to you first. Please don't do this. Relax.
Shwara, when the other panelist was speaking, I couldn't help. When the other panelist was speaking just before me, who attributed the loss of the seat at the United Nations Security Council to what happened with Kashmir on Article 370, I couldn't help but do this. Because these people have a habit of linking anything. Let's not forget.
In front of the Prime Minister.
These people have a habit of linking just anything. Let's not forget, in 2013, it was the UPA Defence Minister A.K. Antony who said in the Parliament that we are not going for the development of roads in the border regions because that might lead to a conflict. Come 2020, and which government has been spearheading the development of the border regions in Northeast and in Ladakh? It's the BJP government. The Congress says you shouldn't lead the quad. The question:
who was responsible for the Galwan debacle?
The Galwan issue has been responded to, sir.
Relax.
Let me get you on this.
Mr. Jindal, don't make me facepalm again. The Galwan issue was responded to. Was 2611 responded to? No, it wasn't. Now hear me out.
Sir,
the problem is the people who do not understand diplomacy. Mr. Jindal, hold on.
Russia or China have got
Mr. Jindal.
US has been insisting upon.
No, Mr. Jindal, you need to listen. You need to counter at your own time. I'm going to Professor Manojit Mandal and then to Pankaj Sharma. Professor Manojit Mandal. No. Okay, Tushar complete.
People who are questioning diplomacy on your panel today, ask them which is the biggest economy in Asia today that can counter China. It's not Russia anymore. It's not Japan. It's not South Korea. It's India. Today, an open Indo-Pacific where 1/3 of the world trade passes from the Strait of Malacca. Which is it critical to? It is India.
It is Congress that taught you.
And yet the Congress,
they won't comment. They will only deliberately. Tushar Gupta, Lokesh Jindal is not going to give an try. But his leader will compare India to Sri Lanka. Professor Manojit Mandal and Sriram Cholia. Tushar, I'll come to you. Sardar RP Singh and Manojit Mandal, 1 versus 1. Please, I'll come to you. Vivek, I'm coming to you in 30 seconds. But Professor Manojit Mandal, you will try and compare. Try to send a signal of distress into the Indian society by saying, listen, this is what has happened in Sri Lanka. This is what is going to happen. When the Indian government is saying, no, relax. Nothing is happening. See the facts. But your leader,
parameters are strong enough.
I'm not saying your leader, but I'm saying Rahul Gandhi will deliberately saying, Professor Manojit Mandal, he will deliberately say and compare India to Sri Lanka. While what is happening is completely opposite.
Check 1, 2, 3. No,
Professor.
Let's face it. See, historically speaking, if you witness our history with these countries which were decolonized after 1947, of course, India included in this particular region, the dynamics of Indian democracy, I think, have been quite vibrant. If you compare with the other, nations, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and so on and so forth, the countries which got independence after 1947. And that's because of our foundations are so solid, created by our great forefathers, that despite the fact that a party like BJP tries to do whatever it can to crush the voices of the people, to crush the voice of democracy, this will continue because of the foundations, because of the founding fathers of this country. Let me speak. This is what you are doing. This is what you are doing. This is what you are doing. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? This is what you do.
One by one. Carry on.
This is what you do.
One by one, boss. One by one.
That you are trying to crush this. Why is it not allow me to speak? I don't understand.
Mr. Mandal,
I tell you that despite the fact that BJP will try to enforce a kind of hegemonic rule. Let me speak now. This is what you do. This is what you do. The classic example of hegemony is you now. Okay? Don't allow others to speak. Did I disturb you?
Show you the mirror, sir.
अरे अरे ये आदमी तो मुझे बोलने नहीं देगा ना।
let him complete.
आपको प्रॉब्लम क्या है? Can I speak? This is precisely I am saying that you people are trying to crush the voice of the opposition by calling them anti-India. Look, critiquing government policy, critiquing the policies of the Prime Minister does not amount to political and the country.
Let me tell you.
Rahul Gandhi may have a different idea of
let him complete and then I'll come in with the point.
India as a nation
and
has been growing
Bakshi is also joining in on the debate.
And the foundations are so solid that even a fascist party like BJP cannot destroy the foundation of Indian
Are you forgetting what A.K. Antony said?
This is because
are you forgetting, Manojit Mandal, what A.K. Antony said? Because I don't forget what Pranav Da, late Pranav Da as the defense minister of India said. But I also don't forget what A.K. Antony said. What A.K. Antony said.
I don't want to listen to the content.
What A.K. Antony said, please don't forget. But today I am saying, Sardar R.P. Singh, Prime Minister Modi is sending out a very strong message.
Created this nation.
Is sending out a very, very strong message. And can I have Vivek Srivastava on the other side?
I live by those people.
Sardar R.P. Singh. Sardar Sahab.
We all know what A.K. Antony said on the floor of the House. He said, we don't have money. If we build roads and other infrastructure, China will invade it. China will invade and use our roads and infrastructure.
You dare not challenge the Russian-Chinese access.
And then you come to the
Vivek Srivastava ji, आपको बड़ी, आप तो चाइना के पिट्ठू हैं, बोलेंगे जो बोलेंगे, परंतु सच तो यही है कि उन्होंने एंथनी साहब ने फ्लोर पे बोला, पार्लियामेंट के फ्लोर पे बोला ये.
Taught us that the Russian-Chinese nexus cannot be challenged by the Americans or even by NATO. That is what Ukraine has taught us. It is one of the strongest axis of the world today is the Russian-China axis, supported by the Cubans, the North Koreans, the
Vivek
Palestinians,
Srivastava, I have a question for you.
And if we are not intelligent,
Vivek Srivastava, first you admit
if we are
that
totally
China is
American,
spooked. Vivek Srivastava, whoever you are questioning, who's intelligent, who's not, listen, Vivek Srivastava, first you accept that China is spooked.
Yes.
First you accept, Vivek Srivastava, that China is spooked. You need to accept today. You need to accept that the people whom you hail
I need to accept that they are neighbors and we both need to talk to each other.
The Chinese are spooked to the core.
I accept that they are my neighbors and we both need to talk to each other. America is far off, sir. And China is my next door neighbor. They better talk to me and I better talk to them.
You want me to spell it out for you?
And that's how it has to be. And they are a strong power. You
Major General G.D. Bakshi, can I have Major General?
And you cannot feel safe.
Can I have Major General G.D. Bakshi on
They did not help Ukraine. They did not help Ukraine.
Sir,
they did not help Ukraine. NATO left Ukraine. Americans left Ukraine. And finally it was the Russians who called the shots.
Major General G.D. Bakshi, sir, I'm coming to you. But sir, a message. Prime Minister is sending a very clear message. Don't take India lightly, and India is here to lead, and India wants peace. And the priority is India's interest first, and then region's peace.
Don't count, Aishwarya. Gimmicks don't count, sir. Sir, these are gimmicks. These are gimmicks, Aishwarya. Gimmicks.
Excuse Relax, me. Vivek. Major General G.D. Bakshi.
Please come in.
Sir, please carry on. Sir, please do.
Thank you. You see, the fact of the matter is that, China was supposed to be the principal threat for the United States, and that was the purpose of creating the Quad alliance of democracies that would balance China, a rising and aggressive China in Asia. Then suddenly, there was the pivot to Asia in Obama's time. And Donald Trump had very strongly started to put pressure on China for its aggressive activities to roll them back. China was assertive in the East China Sea, in the South China Sea, against Taiwan and against India. And it was trying to bully its smaller neighbors. That was the raison d'etre for the formation of the Quad. Now, what happened is that we have this war in Ukraine, and suddenly the pivot has shifted to Europe. So therefore, there was, can I please finish, sir? I didn't interrupt you. Have the decency.
Yeah, please do.
Is that, when the entire emphasis shifted back to Europe, there is the pivot, instead of a pivot to Asia, there is a pivot to Europe, right? You see, and that, put a lot of fear and, apprehension in the minds of the nations, especially the small nations of Southeast Asia, and also the members of the Quad, that would the United States, be able to play a role, an assertive role, if China, came to a situation of push came to shove, whether in Taiwan, whether in South China Sea, whether in East China Sea, or even against India. So this Quad meeting is specifically designed to allay those apprehensions. It is sending out a strong signal to China, and China, as you rightly said, has been spooked. They are trying to say that they will be truculent in return, and that is why they are holding a joint exercise with the Russians, which has been timed to coincide with the Quad, and they have been making very aggressive forays with their aircraft into the air defense zone, near the air defense zones of Japan, trying to send a tough message to the leaders of the Quad, to President Biden. President Biden, in turn, so far there was an ambiguity over whether they would come to the support of Taiwan or not.
Is there any
now he has said that he will.
Meeting, sir? Is there any major outcome from the Quad meeting, sir? What our Prime Minister said in the Quad summit?
Yes,
it was all routine and customary.
Yes.
What is the measure? There is no major outcome.
No, there
Everything
has been one major outcome.
Yeah, our Prime Minister was so customary, Quad is giving new energy and enthusiasm. Its scope has become vast. Mutual trust and determination is the key. This. So I mean, all these routine things from Quad will not solve any problem. And now our friends from BJP, Mr. R.P. Singh, he wants the nation to acknowledge the lordship of our Prime Minister over the world leaders through a photo that speaks 1,000 words circulated by BJP's IT cell on social media. So for this, I can salute the immense insight of the global diplomacy of BJP spokesperson. Can't do anything more. Even in the joint leaders' statement from the Quad, there is nothing outstanding. Almost similar routine views on the issues of peace, stability, global health, security, infrastructure, climate, cyber security. Tell me what is new. What is new in this joint statement of Quad?
Mr. Sharma, Shriram is replying to you, and then I'll go to Vivek. Shriram is replying to you.
Mr. Sharma, Shriram has an apt reply. Let him reply.
Aishwarya, this speaker has not even read the joint statement or doesn't understand.
I have read
what cooperation means. $50 billion is what we are committing for infrastructure development in the entire region. $50 billion. This is more than what the Chinese have spent under Belt and Road in this region.
Everything is routine.
We are outbidding the Chinese. We are going to outbid the Chinese in infrastructure development. We are doing maritime surveillance to push back Chinese naval encroachments. We have agreed on a whole package for digital and climate change mitigation efforts. We are now bringing concrete benefits to the people of this region to free them from the Chinese debt trap. What more do you want? What do you mean by routine?
What is new about
one by one, guys?
What is new about global health security?
Stop bragging and stop this gimmicks.
All routine. You will find the similar words.
All four can't speak together. Pankaj Sharma, let's relax. Vivek Srivastava, I'll come to you. But let General speak. But let General respond. Let General respond and then Vivek Srivastava. General GD Bakshi and then Vivek Srivastava. RP Singh, I'm coming to you in 30 seconds. General first and then Vivek. General first.
Can I please?
Yes, please do, General. Carry on.
Yeah.
Thank you. Look, I'd just like to point out one thing. Partially, I agree with you that the Quad should not degenerate into just a talk shop. America, India as a critical swing state must clearly tell the United States to outline their primary threat. Is it Russia? Is it China? It can't be both, because that is very bad strategy. However, what they are trying to do is they are trying to counter the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative, where they have used very high debt kind of loans to entrap in debt traps countries like Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Myanmar, which have been ruined economically.
Yes.
So now there is a more benign structure that they are offering, a $50 billion fund, which will help to create structure without tying down nations in debt traps, without
be very
destroying
clear,
their economies.
If India is not a part of this
them to
Russian-Chinese axis, Pakistan is going to take that space,
Vivek, let him
and
complete.
we are going to suffer.
Why can't you let the general complete
it? You cannot.
Okay, carry on.
You cannot, General. You cannot.
Can I just
China
finish?
is your next door neighbor.
Can I just
You might
finish?
keep crying. You might keep shouting. You
Sir,
might keep
you
criticizing.
can't speak over everybody else.
You cannot change the fact that they are your neighbors.
But he takes his direct dictation from Beijing. What do I do, General?
I heard you. Can I reply?
He takes his direct dictation from Beijing. I've been requesting him. Let General complete, then you speak.
Can the General tell me if the Americans and the NATO were loyal to Ukraine or not? And can we depend on the Americans?
Mr. Vivek Srivastava, it's a very bad habit to continually speak over everybody else.
I'm requesting you.
Because I can't hear you.
Please relax. Let General speak.
Sir, I asked you a question.
Thank you.
Yeah, General. Complete.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
carry on, General, please.
You have made a pertinent point. May I answer you? Okay, thank you. Now, can I answer you? The simple point is, India is a critical swing state. India looks after primarily its own national interests, right? We are not enemies with Russia. We are friends with Russia. We are equally friends with the United States. I think that's a very advantageous position to be in. We are a swing state, and whichever way we swing, the weight of geopolitics will go to that corner. So we are now friendly with the Russians. 70 to 80% of our weapons come from the Russians. We have made openings to United States. I think we are in a very enviable position.
Vivek Srivastava, I'm giving you next 45 seconds to you. What's your problem?
China,
Vivek Srivastava and RP Singh, but I'm giving these 45 seconds, General.
All I'm trying to say is,
General, taking your permission, and if I may, Vivek Srivastava, what's your problem? Boss, tell me this. Vivek Srivastava, what's your problem? You're not letting anyone speak. And can I have Sardar RP Singh on the other side?
My problem is,
what's your problem, Vivek Srivastava?
My problem is that this narrative that Japan is going to be of a great help to you, the Americans are going to stand by you, the NATO is waiting for you, lot of foreign investment is going to come to you. It is all wrong. You need to understand where the world is going. The Ukrainian crisis has proved beyond doubt how China they destroyed Taiwan, they destroyed
at least you don't become a Vivek Srivastava. It's a humble request. Vivek Srivastava. No. Vivek Srivastava.
China is your next door neighbor.
Vivek Srivastava. Okay, whatever you have said, Vivek Srivastava, whatever you've said, for a microsecond, I accept, okay? But you feel that China, you said Japan is not there, US is not there, this is not there, that is not there. So you feel China is there to help us?
NATO is not
You
there.
feel that China is waiting there with open arms? Xi Jinping is waiting with open arms. Come! India, come! What are you doing? What are you saying?
They are your neighbors. And the Chinese better talk to us and we talk to them.
Pakistan is also our neighbor.
If America and Canada
we
can be friends, so can we and China.
Vivek,
and both the nations
they are also our neighbors. We know how to deal with them. Sardar RP Singh. Sardar RP Singh.
See, issue is
one by one. Sardar RP Singh first. We know how to deal with them.
Sir, the problem with Vivek Srivastava is that he can't think beyond China. For him, China is the fatherland. They can't think beyond China. That's the problem with Vivek Srivastava. But let's understand, we are going to have a good relationship with all countries for benefit of our country, for benefit of India. Whether it's China, Russia, America, whichever country it is, whichever way our country can be benefited, we'll follow that path. And as General Sahab was rightly saying, that we are a swing state. Wherever which side we swing, the balance will move towards that side. And everyone look toward us today. Today, the world leaders look toward us. And as far meetings in Japan, the Prime Minister also met 34 business leaders in Japan.
Monojit Monda, Professor Monojit Monda. Professor.
You see, Aishwarya, while we really do not want to stay with warmongers like Russia, it is also historically true that SAARC is a history, it has failed, and BIMSTEC, another initiative by Government of India, Bay of Bengal initiative for multi-trade cooperation among these countries, among Bay of Bengal, it is also failing. So the fact remains that these attempts are there to counter the Chinese aggression. First of all, I really do not want India to align with China. That's very clear. Because I mean, historically, I hate these fake communists, including the Indians one. So that's very clear. But BIMSTEC has failed. SAARC is history. I mean, you have to grow as a country all by yourself. Why Russia cannot be questioned by even NATO? Because Russia is a self-sufficient country. It is a warmonger, and that has been the case with almost all the European nations. I mean, look at. They have fought 2 devastating wars within 20 years. This is also a kind of informal third war. This is European. Indians are morally, India is a country which is moral, which is spiritual, and we are teaching the world the idea of universal humanism and spirituality.
Your point taken, Manojit.
What I don't understand is,
we cannot really align with China or any aggressor for that matter.
Okay, Manojit.
What I don't, Aishwarya, what I don't understand is, why are people so spooked about the Quad? Vivek Srivastava goes and says that sab customary hai, there is routine customary remarks being made. There is a satellite.
BIMSTEC has failed. That's why.
This is the Quad. This is the Quad.
This kind of cooperative national don't really matter. They don't work.
So what should we do? What should we do? Shut off our embassies?
You've given an example.
No.
SAARC has failed.
What do you want then, sir? Should we shut out all our embassies?
We have to be our own. We have to be a
So that is what we do.
Nation.
Don't ask Vivek Srivastava this question. Mr. Gupta, he's going to tell you to open each and every Chinese city.
Because
Vivek Srivastava, can you answer that?
1 second. No, you are crying about being self-reliant.
Americans are not your friends.
Hold on.
Vivek.
That's what I know.
Hold on. Aishwarya, the person before says we should be self-reliant. Has he not heard about PLIs?
Everybody's friends. We need to be against them.
We are also keeping our strategic interests. We are also keeping Vivek ji, we are also keeping our strategic interests in mind.
You complain against the Chinese in the United Nations. You go to WHO and you complain against.
Why is Vivek so spooked up about Quad? Vivek ji, I want to ask you. Why are you so worried about the Quad?
No, America.
Give me a minute more, General.
Vivek, why are you so worried about the Quad? Vivek, why are you so worried about
your party, Vivek Srivastava. Let me just tell you.
Why is
rather than being disturbed, absolutely, Tushar. And can I have Lokesh Jindal now? But I'll just like to tell you, Vivek Srivastava. As passionate you are for the Quad and the Chinese, I really hope, Vivek, that you were this passionate. You were this passionate to revive your own party. I really hope that you were this passionate to revive your own party. And talking about revival of parties, let's go to Lokesh Jindal, leader of the Congress party. Lokesh Jindal. And Pankaj Sharma ji, I'll just come to you after this, but Lokesh Jindal, can you counter what Tushar just said? Lokesh and Tushar. And I'll come to General after that. General, just 1 minute more.
It has been 8 years since this present Prime Minister, but what we have seen is a reduction in defense expenditure. There is no Atmanirbhar Bharat. Still 60% of our imports are from Russia. And when we are talking about Galwan Valley debacle, the government did not have any form of a roadmap so as to deal with the Chinese threat. And worst of all, right now if we talk about, there is no nuclear powered submarine that we have. We need 5 nuclear power submarines, but we are doing it with 2. And we do not have enough arms and ammunition at our disposal. What? We are depending upon foreign powers? And you're talking about Quad, so let me tell you, in 2007,
we have best of the aeroplanes, we have best of the helicopters, we have the best of the defense mechanism, and we have the best defense system, and we have proven that also. But the problem with you is that in your time you did this. You said हमारे हाथ खाली हैं, हमारे पास कुछ नहीं है, हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते. You couldn't build a road. I remember you couldn't build a road on the China border. You couldn't build a road. You said we can't afford to build a road. Your defense minister said we can't afford to build a road. What are you talking about? Look who's talking. The party, government which couldn't build a road is talking about the defense mechanism. Today we are the most robust defense mechanism in the world.
Any form of a policy, we need to start acting proactively rather than acting prospectively. Please understand, this Prime Minister has failed on the policy front.
Today both the countries look toward India. The Russia and China, Russia and Ukraine, both look toward India for a peace formula.
Listen.
What are you talking, sir? On what front have
Speak to our leader.
On what front
But you
have
won't acknowledge that. You won't acknowledge that.
General, and Pankaj Sharma, General, you wanted to make a point there. General, you wanted to make a point there. How will the China take on the Quad nations, General? The China feels China is spooked, General. Can I have General Giri Bakshi and then Pankaj Sharma on the other side? General, China is spooked, let there be no doubt about it. China is thinking, how will they take on the Quad nations? China is facing a global pushback. And what allies does China have? These are the facts, General.
No, you are absolutely correct. The Chinese are very much, apprehensive about an encirclement by the United States and the Quad allies, the quadrilateral of democracies, and not only these Quad nations, it is also the navies of France, the navies of the United Kingdom. Even the German Navy has been sending ships to this area to counterbalance the overbearing attitude of the Chinese towards the small nations like Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, etc., Philippines, whom they were trying to cow down. Don't forget that when the International Court of Justice had given a ruling in favor of the Philippines, China callously tried to ignore it and go ahead and try and stake its claim on the South China Sea, which was pronounced as illegal by the International Court of Justice. So China has to be contained. And I want to make one basic point. The countries that we must look out for in Asia and have a very close alliance with them is Japan and Vietnam. These are the two countries that can help to India to balance China. Because you see, Chinese forces, China has huge force levels, but they have to be distributed because they have to cater for the United States, for Japan, for Vietnam, for India, for Taiwan. So they can all not be focused on any single country. Just by this logic, you see, and Japan will never leave Asia. Vietnam cannot leave Asia. United States may decide to leave, may go back into isolation. But India must, try and put together a local security architecture as a sub-component of the Quad, wherein we have a very special relationship with Japan and with Vietnam. The Japanese relationship can give us a lot of technological advantage. The Japan has very good Soryu submarines. We could jointly produce them. They have good minesweepers. We can produce them jointly in India. And thereby we increase our self-reliance. That is extremely important. They need help in missiles. They may want our BrahMos cruise missiles. They would want us to launch their satellites. We can help them. We already have a civil nuclear power agreement with them. And I think India should go to the extent of having a treaty of peace and friendship with Japan and Vietnam as we had with the Russians in '71. See how much help it gave to you. And they don't have nuclear weapons. India has.
Pankaj Sharma has a question for you there.
Civilizationally,
General, Pankaj Sharma wanted to.
Pankaj
Sharma has a question for you. Yeah, Pankaj.
And finally, the General Saab, American President.
Japan helped you to become free by helping the INA.
Yeah, please finish.
General Saab, American President, has said whatever he wanted to on Taiwan issue. And you have been saying that we are a swinging country and we can swing the direction of the global diplomacy the way we want. I would like to know from you also and from the BJP spokesperson that what is India's view on one China policy? Do we support China's views on Taiwan? Why we don't have diplomatic relations with Taiwan? I mean, these are the questions, these are the issues which has to be addressed. Will RP Singh tell me what is his government's view on one China policy?
RP Singh.
We have relationship with We have relationship with Taiwan, and we are ongoingly building our relations with Taiwan. We all know that.
We don't have diplomatic relations with Taiwan. And what is your government's view on one China policy?
We have to look our interests, sir. We have to look our interests from whichever country, as I said earlier also. So let's look our interest. Let's look our interest. You have been a Congress spokesperson and a Congress person. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. What is your evidence of what is your document your leader has signed with the Chinese Communist Party? Let's know that also. The document which Congress Party Rahul Gandhi signed with the Communist Party of China. Where is the document? Can you show the document? Can you show the document?
Shriram Cholia wants to answer that. Shriram Cholia wants to come.
I'll give you a challenge. Please make that document public.
Give me some time. Shriram Cholia wants to answer that. Shriram Cholia wants to answer that. Yes, Shriram.
Aishwarya, just a couple of points. Number one, we stopped publicly reaffirming one China policy under Modi era. Sushma Swaraj, our former foreign minister, point blank told her Chinese counterpart, if you want us to stand by one China policy, you first respect a one India policy. One India. There is no Arunachal Pradesh or Ladakh or Aksai Chin that belongs to China. We don't accept it.
No, I think one China policy
is being made about the government
shamelessly surrender in front of the Chinese.
We are not reaffirming publicly. We are
enhancing. Hold on, let him complete.
With Taiwan.
Don't try to heckle him here.
Even the US maintains strategic ambiguity. There is no country that actually, there are only 18 or 17 countries now that officially recognize Taiwan. Let's not kid ourselves, but unofficially, we need to strengthen its defense. Unofficially, we don't have to recognize it, but we can form part of this Quad grouping to shore up its defenses. And that's what is happening. Japan is doing it. Japan also does not recognize Taiwan. But that doesn't mean it doesn't do a lot for Taiwan's defense.
Okay, Lokesh
We are also going to go in. Our Navy is also going to be helpful. This is
General coming after
the
me.
idea.
Lokesh
We
General.
have to form
Lokesh General and then General Sab again. Yeah. Lokesh
that are facing Chinese aggression. That's a very important maneuver we are doing. And that's ultimately going to establish deterrence.
Lokesh.
See, when we are talking about
Lokesh General.
when we are talking about diplomatically isolating China, please allow me to complete.
Dormancy.
Allow others to speak.
Working under Manmohan Singh's time, we only revived it in 2017.
Speak, Lokesh. Carry on.
Yeah. Don't radio
for
channel.
10 years, Aishwarya.
Please carry on, Lokesh.
About isolation of
carry
China.
on, Lokesh.
Why did India walk out of the RCEP rather than engaging with China? Now, even during the COVID crisis, India was actively importing Chinese goods despite Chinese goods hurting Indian domestic market. India needs to have a concrete policy. We are still dependent upon Chinese imports, and you talk about the Chinese.
Coming after this,
your domestic economic policy has nothing to do with your foreign policy. Your foreign policy is not in line with the domestic needs. Domestically, you are dependent upon China, but on the foreign policy front, you claim that China is a threat. Let there be a coherence. Let us develop Atmanirbhar Bharat first. Let us deal with our self-sufficiency. Only then we can pursue the Chinese threat. You cannot.
General is countering. General G.D. Bakshi.
And then you claim at
General is countering you.
China.
Mr. Jindal, Mr. Lokesh Jindal.
Thank you.
General is countering
now
you.
Can I answer that? You raised some pertinent points. Can I answer them? Firstly, the question of Taiwan. In the Nehruvian era, we had signed on to the One China policy. In fact, we gave our own UN Security Council seat, which was being offered to us, to China. We gave our seat voluntarily.
Factually incorrect,
we have a legacy. Can I please finish?
Relax.
Please, you can say that after I
relax, location.
Let me finish my argument. Now I am trying to tell you. Let me tell you that we may not have official relations with Taiwan, but at the functional level, we have excellent relations as far as trade is concerned, military cooperation is concerned. Everything that needs to be done is being done. We don't have to announce it because the bulk of the world has not recognized China as such. However, what is being said is that we are for a peaceful if China wants reunification, it has to be done in a peaceful manner. They cannot just attack and occupy Taiwan, because that would go against Indian national interest. And my primary concern, our primary concern, should be what serves Indian national interest. Taiwan is tying down huge amount of Chinese armed forces, Army, Navy, Air Force. To that extent, it is a great advantage to us. And it is not to our interests that Taiwan falls to a massive Chinese onslaught a la Ukraine. That cannot be allowed to happen. It will grievously harm our interests. And it is Taiwan which actually constrains the breakout of the Chinese Navy towards the wider Pacific Ocean, the Indo-Pacific Oceans. So, geostrategically, Taiwan, we must have ties with Taiwan at the functional level, which we are having. We are cooperating. It is the world's greatest manufacturer of chips. We must cooperate with them. We must see that some of the chip manufacturing, if it can be offshored here.
Is it?
And especially diverse China mainland.
That means BJP government is in favor of reunification of Taiwan with China. You want to say that
General, I would
BJP
have to go.
government is in favor of reunification
I have
of
4
Taiwan
minutes
with
on the
China.
debate. I need to go to
No, who said the government is in favor?
Pankaj.
No.
You said peaceful
the government is in favor.
Peaceful
Sonia just
reunification.
told you that Sushma
Peaceful
Swaraj
reunification.
had told them that if you want us to talk of one China, you better talk of one India. And not Arunachal is
One
separate,
India,
and
India
Arunachal
is
theirs,
one.
and Kashmir
No.
belongs to Pakistan. All that nonsense will have to stop.
Ladakh and Arunachal cannot be compared with the situation of Taiwan.
Facts.
How can you compare Taiwan's situation with
Please
Arunachal
understand
and
what I'm saying
Ladakh?
before you just start countering it. Na? Understand what I'm saying. I'm saying Sushma Swaraj said that if you want us to support a one China policy, you must support a one India policy. You cannot say that parts of India will be taken over by China. China cannot be allowed to take Arunachal, cannot be allowed to take Ladakh.
Under any absolutely, General, China cannot and will not.
And Taiwan are three different things.
Manojida, ending comments.
If they support one India policy.
Manojit Mandal, Sri Ram Chali, ending. Tushar, coming to you.
It is in our national interest to see that Taiwan does not go down under.
Aishwarya, the bottom line
we must cooperate with Japan, we must cooperate with Vietnam, and as it is, we are helping Taiwan.
Bottom line is, you have to be a self-reliant nation. I mean, these cooperations may sound fine, but in the long run, they don't work. Look, even NATO cannot stop Russia for doing what it's doing for the last 2.5 months. NATO is such a powerful organization.
But why can't you just compliment the Prime Minister for what he's doing?
Isolation.
Why does your internal politics has to be? My only problem, Manojit Da, is that why can't you compliment Prime Minister Modi for what he's doing? Why can't you? Your internal politics stops you from doing that.
Proactive
Manojit Da.
Of course, no problem. You know,
Shriram, hold on.
Fine.
The whole country.
We are definitely
no problem.
that initiative, of course. But what I'm saying that I'm just cautioning you. Definitely it's a good gesture. But I'm cautioning you. BIMSTEC was also Prime Minister initiative 7 years back. Look at Sri Lanka's story. BIMSTEC is a failure, and that's classic example of that is Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is in tatters.
Be optimistic, Dada. Be
I
optimistic.
mean,
Shriram is
are definitely fine, but they don't work in the long run. Even NATO has failed. NATO has failed You have to be self-reliant.
Every country that is failing or is in crisis in our region is because of Chinese perfidy. Chinese perfidy, Chinese bullying, Chinese debt trap, and Chinese hegemony is the root cause of suffering and misery for a lot of countries in Indo-Pacific. That's why Quad has come
Chinese
about.
so many times
We
that my
cannot
director had
allow this
automatically
misery
put
and suffering of the weak to carry on. We are now revived Quad. Quad is getting stronger. India is getting stronger, and we should all stand behind it.
If you see Tibet has prospered.
The man comes on and just starts speaking.
If you want a stable and peaceful region,
amazing,
there is no alternative to it. No isolation.
No.
Friendship with
China is very
None
good
of
for
these is
Tibet.
going to work.
Tibet has
We need a
prospered under the
counterbalancing
Chinese
coalition.
rule.
That's the only way.
Tibet has prospered under the Chinese rule.
What are you
Taiwan
saying?
will prosper under the Chinese
Vivek
rule.
Srivastava, did I hear you correct?
China policy is the right thing to
Tibet
do.
is prospering?
Tibet has suffered
No,
a
Vivek
genocide.
Srivastava.
Don't
Sriram
lie to
Cholia, what is he
yourself.
saying?
Tibet has prospered. There are
General G.D. Bakshi, what is he saying?
Has been wiped out.
Sardar R.P. Singh, what is he saying?
Chinese colonization of Tibet.
Tibet is growing.
He's saying, Sardar R.P. Singh. Sardar R.P. Singh.
Problem with Vivek Srivastava is Vivek Srivastava and Lokesh Chandra is that they are the tail of China. They wag their tail as per the China. They do whatever China wants them to say here. And Vivek Srivastava, you and Lokesh Chandra are from the same group. And then you will say whatever China wants you to say. I give a challenge, Vivek Srivastava. Lokesh Chandra, dear friend of yours, ask Lokesh Chandra to make that document public which Congress Party of India, Rahul Gandhi, has signed with Communist Party of China. Let that document be public. And for what reason the money was transferred from the Communist Party of China to Rajiv Gandhi Foundation? And what was the role of the Communist Party of India in that?
The Chinese have the strongest manufacturing backbone.
They will never comment on that, Sardar R.P. Singh.
And you need to acknowledge that.
They will never comment on that. Tushar Gupta and Lokesh.
Yeah.
Tushar Gupta and Lokesh Jindal, Vivek Srivastava. If you would have not spoken on other people, I would have seriously given you 1 minute extra. Because of your direct connections with the Beijing, I would have got the thought process of the Chinese direct for my viewers. But the problem is you don't let others speak. Tushar and Lokesh. One by one, 30 seconds each. Thank you.
Aishwarya, I'm appalled. Aishwarya. अरे विवेक जी रुकिए क्या है ये चाइना इज द स्ट्रॉन्गेस्ट है स्ट्रॉन्ग तो चाइना स्ट्रॉन्ग है तो क्या करे इंडियन गवर्नमेंट डिप्लोमेसी छोड़ दे चाइना हमारा नेबर है तो क्या करे इंडिया डिप्लोमेसी छोड़ दे यूरोप से रिलेशंस ना बनाए अमेरिका से रिलेशंस ना बनाए
अरे साहब
आपको एक चीज समझ में नहीं आती
General G.D. Bakshi, I only have 10 seconds and I'm giving the last 10 seconds to you on the debate, General G.D. Bakshi, but please, only 10 seconds, sir. I have very less time, General.
Look, thank you.
General, 10 seconds.
Can I kindly make my point? Thank you. Can you please stop this,
General,
gentleman?
I can't promise that. They are going to speak. Carry on, General.
China is strong.
General, I've tried. General.
The simple fact is that China is a strong country. So is India, not a pushover. We did our best to make peace with China. I don't think any other prime minister made so much effort as Jawaharlal Nehru. What did we get? The stab in the back in 1962. And constant needling and military pressure.
General.
So what do you want us to do? Kneel before China? Kowtow? We will never.
Understood, General.
We are a self-respecting nation.
I really have no time left on the debate, guys. But I'll just say one thing, General. What you've said. China is a strong country. But so is India. And it has got to get stronger than that, Vivek Srivastava. You need to apprehend with that. Thank you so much, viewers. And thank you all the guests. That's the time we have on the debate at 10 today. Thank you so much.
As an amazing step for students, the University Grants Commission has allowed students to pursue 2 degrees at the same time. Amity University is the first one to implement this, and now all Amity students can avail 2 degrees together. To find out more, visit amity.edu/2 degrees.